2,000 years ago, Rome executed a man with no army, no throne, and no political office. That should have buried him. It didn't. Rome is gone. Humans still count time by his name, still mock him, still argue about him. Even religions that deny his divinity still make room for his existence. So who was he? Case file: Jesus Christ. The man they could not file. Jesus enters the record through the covenant bloodline. Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Judah, David. That is the Israel receipt. Luke 3 pulls the thread all the way back. Past Abraham. Past the tribes. Past every king. Past every patriarch. All the way to Adam and Eve, the first humans in the file. Which means this case was never just moving through one nation. It was always aimed at the whole human race. That is why Israel was not special, because God plays favorites. Israel mattered, because that is the line the case was moving through. And Jesus is the key to why that line matters. Because if Adam is where the fracture begins, Jesus is where the way back opens. That is why Paul calls him the last Adam. The line was not preserved to produce another teacher. It was preserved to bring in the one Christians believe unlocks the way out for humanity itself. And to this detective, blood seems to carry unusual weight in human history. Covenants, genealogies, sacrifices, kings, altars. Even the darker rituals humans invent keep circling back to blood. Life in the blood, identity in the blood, redemption through blood. Humans may explain that differently, but the pattern is hard to miss. For humans who think they live in a simulation, think of it like this. The one who built the system entered his own system. The author stepped into the story. The designer entered the code, and according to Christianity, he did it knowing the system would kill him. Then used that death to open a way out for the beings inside it. He even left his spirit, as the active line still running between the creator and the ones inside the code. That is either absurd or the deepest break in the code humans have ever been handed. And honestly, where do humans think the idea of Neo or Luke Skywalker came from? The pattern is older than Hollywood. At 12 years old, he is already in the temple, leaving grown teachers stunned. Then his relative, John the Baptist, prepares the way. Then Jesus steps into the water. Then the desert. 40 days, hunger, temptation, Satan pressing every weak point he can find. No shortcut, no surrender. Jesus answers with scripture. Not force, not spectacle. Word. That matters. Because he moved empires with words and kindness. He overturned hearts with parables. He walked into history with scripture on his tongue. And history still has not recovered from him. Then the character gets harder to ignore. He sat with sinners. Ate with tax collectors, welcomed prostitutes, touched lepers, moved toward the broken to help them, not stand above them. And even when they came to arrest him, Peter cut off a man's ear. and Jesus healed it. That is a strange man to arrest. Then the claims. He forgives sins like the case is his to clear. He calls himself Lord of the Sabbath. He walks into rooms where people are being condemned and makes himself the issue instead of them. And in John, he stops circling the issue. Before Abraham was, I am. I and the Father are one. Whoever has seen me has seen the Father. That is not how a mere moral teacher normally talks. The pattern in the file. Then the older record starts talking. The prophets had already left fingerprints, and if this file is going to stay honest, two of the strongest receipts need to be placed on the table. Isaiah 53:5, Old Testament. He was pierced for our transgressions, he was crushed for our iniquities, and by his wounds we are healed. That is not vague poetry. That is suffering, wounding, substitution. Then Micah 5:2, Old Testament. But you, Bethlehem Ephrathah, from you shall come forth for me one who is to be ruler in Israel. Small town, specific place, messianic target. Those are not the only prophecies Christians point to. There are hundreds more tied into the file, and even the probability argument gets uncomfortable. Some Christian writers have argued that fulfilling even a small cluster of messianic prophecies in one life is astronomically unlikely. The math itself gets debated. The point does not. The convergence is the thing that keeps turning heads. And if calming storms, casting out demons, healing the sick, and restoring the broken were not enough, Jesus stands outside a tomb and calls Lazarus back from the dead. 4 days buried, then Lazarus walks out. And if he can bring Lazarus back, that only makes his own resurrection harder to dismiss. That is not a man improvising through history. That is someone moving like he can already see where the road goes. He predicts betrayal. He predicts Peter's denial. He predicts his own death. He predicts his resurrection. And if humans ever open a Bible and see the red letters, that is him speaking. There are not that many. And yet those words left an imprint history still cannot erase. The cross and the aftershock. Then the file narrows to the cross, and the timing matters. He dies at Passover. Blood, sacrifice, deliverance through death. And Christians have long noticed the pattern tightening there. The Passover lamb had to be without blemish. Jesus is presented as sinless. Before the crucifixion, he is anointed for burial. At the cross, John records hyssop being lifted to his lips, and that detail does not sit there quietly, because in the older record, hyssop was used at Passover to apply the blood of the lamb. So when hyssop appears at the cross, the symbolism tightens again. Blood. Lamb. Deliverance. By the time Jesus says, "It is finished," the frame is no longer subtle. The whole scene is screaming sacrifice, and there is another detail that exposes his character. Even here, Jesus does not speak like a victim blindsided by events. In John 10:18, he says, No one takes it from me, but I lay it down of my own accord. That changes the frame. Rome really did execute him. The crowd really did hand him over. But by his own words, he was not ultimately losing his life. He was laying it down willingly. Not panic, not helplessness, purpose. And while he is dying, Jesus says, my God, why have you forsaken me? Some hear despair, but the older record matters here. That line is Psalm 22, and if humans keep reading, the chapter keeps going. Mocking, public humiliation, piercing, divided garments. Psalm 22 was written about 1,000 years before crucifixion became Rome's signature execution method. Read it, then come back and tell this detective it was nothing. Then the spear to the side, blood and water. Scientifically speaking, that means he died. And dead messiahs usually stay dead. Failed movements usually fracture. Followers usually scatter. This one does not. It gets hotter. Because after the crucifixion, the evidence expands instead of collapsing. People who followed him died for him. And even people who did not follow him during his ministry ended up dying for him too. That should raise eyebrows, because people may die for something false they mistakenly believe is true. But the people around Jesus were in position to know whether they had actually seen something, and they did not back down. And then there is something even stranger. His own brother ends up calling him Lord. Anyone with siblings knows how impossible that is. That is not normal family language. That is collision. And all of this was moving before organized Christianity looked the way later history remembers it. Before institutions, before empire, before systems. The claim was already moving. Then even outside the church, the bones of the case remained visible. He existed, he was executed, and his followers did not treat him like a dead teacher. They treated him like Lord. Then history does something stranger still. Rome kills him. And later, the world gets shaped around the very name Rome tried to erase. That should bother people, because civilizations do not usually execute someone and then build time around him. So who was Jesus? Not just a prophet, not just a rabbi, not just a rebel, not just a martyr. Christianity says he was the center load-bearing claim. The one the covenant line was carrying. The one the prophets kept circling. The one who looked exactly like what Israel's God always claimed to be. Merciful, just, close to the broken, unbothered by the powerful. And maybe the most beautiful thing in the whole file is this: If the claim is true, then Jesus did not stay distant from human pain. He entered it. Grief, sorrow, temptation, betrayal, humiliation, violence, death. He did not ask humans to endure a world he refused to touch. He stepped into it himself. That changes the nature of the case entirely. And if he is Messiah, if he is God, then this case is not about a dead founder. It is about a living claim. This file is still open. This file is still warm. The evidence keeps pointing one direction, and the file does not close. If humans want the next layer of this case, open the long file. Start with the red letters, then Psalm 22. Isaiah 53:5. Then come back. You know what to do. File open. Case active.